Hey guys, Nar here. Today I wanted to showcase and make a small guide for the build I've been playing in Torchlight Infinite. It's an Electrifying shot Carino build that focuses on deck stacking for nice damage with enough speed to have a respectable clear. It absolutely melts beacon bosses and can kill T7 Watchers and Traveler without too much issue. It probably won't be deathless though, so I'd recommend leveling up before fighting any sizable bosses. If you're looking for a build to farm up a ton of currency without breaking the bank, this is a good option. I go for Electrifying shot over Lightning shot because it has a much higher base damage. In this video I was using a level 18 Electrifying shot that still out DPS'd my Lightning shot that was at level 20. You do miss out on the extra projectiles and AoE that help with clear, but clear's already feeling pretty cozy on this build, so I opted for the skill that just gives more single target boss DPS. For our talent trees, we spec'd into Goddess of Hunting and Marksman, then we hopped over to Goddess of War and picked up Ranger for the last. I won't bother going over the individual points as they're pretty self-explanatory. You can see, I'll scroll through them here for you, or you can click the link down below to get taken to a website where you can see every single thing about the build. No problem. For the large talent points, we take Perception for attack speed that scales with dex, Impermanence for more damage, Gale for a huge boost to damage for any projectile speed we can get, and 3 birds with 1 stone. The extra proj helps with both clear and boss damage, but if you really want to do massive damage to bosses, you can switch to close range fire and just sit on top of the boss and you'll do huge damage. Lastly, we take Fluke to have lucky crits when we have Fervor, which is always, and Impending to massively increase damage to enemies within 10 meters. Then for our hero traits, we go for Blade Shot, Crushing Gale Trigger, and Well Prepared. For the projectile skill supports, I'm using Mark, Critical Rating Increase, and Critical Damage Increase. For the skill links, I'm using a 6-link Electrifying shot. I'll let you take a look at the supports. They're pretty standard as far as something like this goes, so nothing too far out of the box. Just check those out. Bloodthirst is a buff that gives us attack speed and move speed for clear and damage. It's good for zooming around the map, it's good for bosses, it's a great pick. Frigid Transmission is our mobility or blink skill. It refreshes its cooldown when we freeze enemies, which is pretty much all the time, so it'll be up a lot, and it's just overall better than the other options. Then Fixate is a debuff that marks enemies in an area and gives them a chance to take double damage from you, which is huge. And then lastly, Aim is a buff that makes you move super duper slow, but it increases your ranged ability by a lot. And then you can cancel it by using a movement skill in case you need to dodge something. For the auras, we've got Precise Projectiles, which gives us projectile damage, ailment damage, and proj speed, which, if you remember, adds even more attack thanks to our talents. Then we link this with Thunder Spirit and Ice Imbue, though to make it work you do need Restrain. If you can't afford Restrain, just drop Lightning Spirit and just run Ice Imbue. You'll be fine. You really won't miss too much. Then we put Thunderlight Field on Cast on Crit, which makes our attacks lucky and deals bonus lightning damage to foes we attack while in the radius. Then we put Seal Conversion on it to cost life, so we can fit our other auras. Lastly, we've got Curse on Hit with Biting Cold. It makes us freeze more and do more damage. Seal Conversion makes it take life as well. And so for the gear, basically none of this matters explicitly except for the weapons. For the weapons, you're going to want, physical damage, lightning damage, dexterity, crit chance. I'll put a little list on the screen of stuff that you want. The list is pretty large, so rolling them is not too hard. Just for a couple dozen FE, you should be able to get something similar to this result. The most important mod is, the added lightning attack damage per dexterity. You got to try to get that gold if you can, or orange. I don't really know. So, you're going to want 2 of those, and, like I said, you can even get proj speed, crit. It's, what you want is just any of these mods as long as you also have the lightning damage per dexterity, and you will be fine. If you cannot afford that, maybe crafting's a little bit out of your price range, you can go with a more budget option, which would be Rain Sparrow. It's pretty cheap. You can get it as low as like 5 sometimes, 6, yeah, see. And this gives you physical damage and lightning damage per dexterity. It makes it so you can't deal physical damage or lightning damage, but since we're converting to cold anyway, we're converting fizz to lightning and lightning to cold, and it's all 100%. You'll do cold damage and it won't be any issue. Then if you wanted a real budget option, you could go with Pendulum of Death here. It's just a bow, and it has 2 skills that are pretty much useless for us, these barrage things. But everything else is pretty good, and I think it's going for like 1 FE or maybe even less. So, it's a pretty good option, but it's not going to be nearly as good as the 2 Rain Sparrows. Yeah, so you can get this for 2 if you don't need super great rolls, and you don't. So you can run with one of those until you're able to get the Sparrows, and after the Sparrows, then you craft something better. As for the rest of the gear, we've got this Corrosion of Manifolds. It's not necessary, but it's really great for erosion resistance, and then getting Tenacity Blessing is pretty good, as well as the Implicit giving regeneration per second, and restoring 20% of your maximum life and mana per 4 seconds when Tenacity Blessing is active, which you get when you take erosion damage. So you take erosion damage, you get more erosion resistance, and you're restoring 20% of your health and mana per 4 seconds. It's pretty good. And then Tenacity Blessing gives you 4% damage reduction per stack, up to 16% with the initial stacks. Pretty good. It's pretty cheap. It's not too expensive. Literally 1, you can get it super cheap. It's a good thing to pick up. And then Frozen Lightning is also good. Gives you a lot of resistances. Gives you some more dex, elemental damage. And then you kind of need this if you go into the Rain Sparrows. But if you're not, it's not necessary. But the slow is nice. Everything's nice about this, and it's also cheap. So pick it up if you can. If you can't, not the end of the world. Unless you're running the Rain Sparrows, then it kind of is. Definitely pick it up. And then False God Skin, I'm looking for a better one of these. But you're basically looking for as many all stats as you can, as well as multiple of the dexterities is good, but it's going to be very expensive. So, not too important. You could even just run a rare with resistances or whatever you need. There's a lot of good mods on necklaces. There's a lot of options. So just, pick up a rare or grab one of these if you can, if it's not too out of your price range, and you'll be fine. Then everything else is, basically just resistances, evasion, fire damage on attacks is not necessary. That's just kind of on here. Life regain is very, very nice. If you have life regain and Corrosion of Manifolds, you basically don't have to run a life flask at all, which is what I'm not doing. It's pretty nice. Move speed on boots is important. Try to get move speed. And everything else is, you know, just basically to your liking. You know, I like trying to get a lot of erosion resistance. I'm kind of failing at that right now, but with this it brings it up to 40. So it's not the worst, but there's a lot of room for improvement. And then, you know, if you're playing this build and you're looking for, you know, big upgrades, something that you can really, you know, sort of strive towards, a nice option would be Royal Cycle. It gives you elemental damage, resistance, then fire damage per strength, which doesn't really matter, but then percent lightning damage per dexterity in addition to the stuff we're getting on our guns. Cold damage per intelligence doesn't matter too much, but then, you know, you get even more percent elemental damage for your highest stat, which will of course be dexterity. So this is huge. This is absolutely massive, but you know, it's also massively priced, so keep that in mind. In addition, another massively priced option that you could pick up is Endless Night. Gives you 10% dexterity, some evasion, damage per dexterity. Lightning Res you gotta get over, but that's not too bad. Then you get resistance per dexterity, which may even cancel that out, or at least help mitigate it. And then cooldown recovery speed when agility blessing. It's not too big of a deal. But this is also very expensive, but it could be a fairly large upgrade to your DPS if you wanted to do that. It only says 13%. It'd probably be more than that, but you know, even then, 13% at these DPS levels is a fairly large increase. For pacts, I've got Red Umbrella and some quantity/magic find stuff on. These really don't matter at all, so don't be upset if you don't have what I have. Red Umbrella is very good, but it's completely not necessary at all. Just run what looks best for you. I recommend drops and magic find stuff, but you know, you can always get some missing resistances or extra damage, whatever you want. You know, just run what you've got and you'll be fine. It's really not that big of an impact on the build. With all that out of the way, here's the DPS test. It's not the highest ever, you know, it's not going to really compare to those OP Berserkers or, you know, like a Moto or something, but it's a really fun play style, and I'm pretty happy with the results given the investment level. If y'all have any questions about the build, feel free to comment down below. Otherwise, I'm out. Until next time, peace.